Hello everyone, thank you for tuning in. This is Jay Lee's Corner. I am of course Jay Lee, and this is my review for episode 6 season 1 of Snowfall, which comes on FX. One of my new favorite shows, even though I don't like some of the characters. But first things first, if you have not done so already, please take a moment and subscribe to my channel. It does not cost you anything. It just lets you know when I have new content, new videos, new reviews up on my channel. So please take a moment, if you like TV show reviews, and subscribe to my channel. You can also share my videos on your social media. You can also like the videos where you just hit the like button. And also to share my videos, you just hit the share button. It's that simple. There's also a comment section down below. So make sure that if you have any comments, you can put your comments there. The one rule is please be respectful to myself and also anyone else making comments. So the episode came on yesterday. Today is Thursday, but I'm just not recording it, and I watched it last night. I still feel the same way about the Lucia, Pedro, and Gustavo characters, and the Teddy and Alejandro characters, that they are second to the story with Franklin. So of course I always do their stories first, and then I cover everything with Franklin, because that's just cover a little bit. That's just what I end up doing. So the episode does start off with a girl walking through, like, down the street, and she's hanging up missing posters, like, missing, looking for, and everything like that. And we come to see that it's a missing poster for the girl who I'm pretty sure that Alejandro killed in the first episode. It was in the first episode where the guy was getting cocaine bone in his butt, and he then OD'd, and the girls were screaming. So yeah, it was a picture of the girl who told him, call the police, and we ain't seen her since. So pretty sure she's probably dead. So that was the opening scene. Into Teddy and Alejandro's story. We just see it's real cut and dry with them two. All that happened is we see Teddy call Alejandro over the phone, and he's asking Alejandro to find new buyers for the cocaine, because Lucia did not have the money for the drugs that she was supposed to buy. So Alejandro was like, remember I told you, I'm not a drug dealer, why can't you do it? And Teddy's like, well, because I have to go to Washington DC to see about the guns, to see if the guns were delivered properly or whatnot. So is that whole phone conversation. We then see Teddy, and he is in Washington talking to someone who I'm assuming is within the CIA, and they're letting him know, hey, yeah, the guns were being held up. Someone basically wants to, throw their clout around, and they're kind of holding it up for right now. And he was basically asking the person, hey, can you help me out and get these guns released, because we really need, messages are going off, we really need these guns so that we can get this war started, and we can get this stuff sold, and that can, the people in, I think it's the Nicaraguan jungle, I might be pronouncing that wrong, can get the money that they need. And Teddy looks a little rough, and he's like, you look a little rough, Teddy, is everything okay? Should we not have put you on this project? And he's like, I'm okay, I'm just tired. So he's like, okay, I'll see what I can do to help. We then see Teddy call his baby mama, ex-wife, or whoever that lady is who got his baby. And when he calls, she like, were we supposed to talk today? And she's very standoffish. She does not want to talk to Teddy for whatever reason. Well, because she said in the last time she was on the episode, you either stay here and finish this out, or you come back with me and we be together. And he chose to stay, so I'm guessing she's a little bit pissed off. And he's like, look, I just want to come have a conversation with you. I miss y'all. I want to be a family. Can I come over? I'm in Washington. And she's like, look, I'm sorry, I was looking away. She's like, look, I don't know if we can be a family. I don't know if I want to be with you, but I do know I want some Thai food. And he's like, okay, I got you. And the next scene that we see, they fucking on the goddamn kitchen table. Now see, this is the reason why I don't like eating food from people's houses who I don't really know. You know what I'm saying? Because in my head, I always just assume people be fucking on tables, couches, chairs. Oh my, it's all over the goddamn old house fucking. But they balls deep, ass naked on the kitchen table, having sex. The Thai food sitting on the kitchen counter. The old school baby monitor is on the kitchen counter too. The baby start crying, and she like, no, don't stop, keep going. And he like, oh, okay. And then they still, you know, this ass out having sex on this little ass kitchen table. And I mean, people, it's bedrooms, it's, I don't know. Anywho, so, you know, they're there and having a conversation. And as she's, like, looking at his neck, probably from the sunburn from when he was in the, when they were stranded on that plane or whatever. And, you know, he's saying to her, look, I think I want to step back from this op. You know, I think I want to let Alejandro run it, you know, let him take point. And I kind of just look, you know, look over things from here, and we can be a family. And she's like, look, I asked you that before. You act like you didn't know if you can do it. You know, it's just so much going on. You know, I have my son. He like, no, it's my, you know, our son. You know, it's my son too. And she's like, okay, you know, I'll give you one more shot, but, you know, but don't fuck it up. It reminded me of RuPaul saying out on the Drag Race show, you know. But anywho, so, you know, we like, cool. The next scene we see is Alejandro and Teddy. And Teddy's back, and they're riding around in the car together. And, you know, Alejandro's asking, you know, if you're the CIA, why is there a hold up with the guns? And he's like, oh, you know, someone just being an asshole. It should be straightened out within a day or two. He then asks Alejandro, did you find another person to buy the drugs? And he's like, no, not yet. They're like, okay, fine. But they're still okay. So Teddy's like, you know, pull over right here. I want to go get some food. I'm hungry. So they pull over. And as they're walking into this, I don't know, I can't remember if it was a restaurant or a store, somewhere to get some food. And Alejandro was slowly walking up to this pole, looking at something on the pole. And he's looking, and we realize it's the missing poster for the girl. And Teddy's like, hey, what's up? And he's like, nothing. And so he sees him looking at the poster. He's like, oh, do you know her? And he's like, yeah, I do. And he's like, oh, from where? And he didn't have his glasses on, so he put his stuff on. He was like, she's one of the girls that I killed. And then he walks away into the restaurant place. And Teddy's like, oh, fuck. Because, again, Teddy knew from the beginning that Alejandro was lying about something. I think he figured that Alejandro killed them girls. But this was the first time that Alejandro was admitting that that's what he did. And my thing is, every time Alejandro has said, I'm not a drug dealer, in my head, I think he wants to finish it off by saying, I'm not a drug dealer, I'm a killer. I'm a murderer, I'm a soldier. You know, this is what I do. I kill people when they need to be killed to protect what needs to be protected. So that was the end of the whole Alejandro Teddy scene. Next, we see even the Gustavo and Lucia scene was like whatever. Pedro was not on this episode. Gustavo and Lucia are meeting up because, of course, they're trying to sell this cocaine that they got from Teddy and them in episode, I think 3. They got that stuff from them, and you know they haven't been able to sell it. So Gustavo is like, look, I got an old friend, you know, who can hook us up with some people who might be able to buy it. But he might be a little mad at me. You know what I'm saying? He might not be too happy. So we see them going to a hospital to meet this old friend of Gustavo's. And when they walk in, he's like, what the fuck are you doing here? So clearly they're not on good terms. And in the midst of that, he's like, you know, we need your help. And he looks over at Lucia. He was like, you know, you shouldn't trust him. When things get tough, you know, he runs. Lucia kind of looks back at Gustavo, but I think in her head, she's like, well, I don't know about that, because when things got rough and I almost got killed, he didn't run. He came in and he killed the person who was trying to kill me. So I think that's why she kind of didn't listen to when he said that. So as they're rolling him out, because he's in a wheelchair and you can tell he's sickly, and they're basically asking for him to set up a meet with the Mexicans to get this cocaine deal going on. And, you know, he's kind of not with it, like, you know, whatever, I'm pissed off at you. And, you know, Gustavo says to him, well, you're too sick to be paying whoever he owes money to. So, you know, if you do this, you'll make some money, you know, in the long run, too. And then he's like, well, what if I can't do it? And Lucia says to the guy, well, look, if you can't get it done, we'll at least give you, we'll give you some cocaine for your trouble, just for, you know, getting it hooked up. So he says, you know, he'll try to get them a meeting with these Mexicans. So when they're back at the house and they're trying to pack up the drugs, and Lucia's like, well, you know, how much do you think they'll buy? And he's like, I don't know. And she's like, well, how much do you think they'll, you know, buy it for? He's like, I don't know. And then she's like, well, how do we know that your friend, you know, who's pissed off at you, isn't setting us up to be robbed and murdered? And he was like, well, you know, actually, it's a 50-50 chance. And she's like, oh, you know, well, that's crazy. They then started drinking some stuff, and then they started dancing. It was that simple. The next thing that we see is they're actually at this meeting with the Mexicans. His friend was able to get this meeting. And as they're sitting there, talking about the deal or whatever, you know, it was, you know, drunk Mexicans hanging out, you know, ASA or whatever. I don't know, I'm not Mexican. And one of them is looking at Lucia like she's a nice little tasty snack. And, you know, he keeps saying little stuff to her like, yeah, you know, we can fuck this girl or whatever. And Gustavo like, hey, leave her alone. So every time the guy is saying something to her, she's moving further away from him and moving more towards Gustavo. And Gustavo, you know, he ain't for the shit. You know, he likes her. So he's like, hey, puta, you know, leave her alone. So he's like, oh, you know, how big is your balls? You know, we should just fight this out. And he then like snorts some cocaine. I don't get why people just want to get all tough and snort cocaine. I just don't get the whole thing. So he's like, I'm not a wrestler anymore. I don't do that anymore. I'm not fighting anybody. And the leader of the pack is like, you know, it looked like he's trying to say how big your balls are. This will be like the deciding factor. So now they got to fight. Okay. So Lucia does say to him, look, I need you to beat his ass because I'd rather die than have those crazy, you know, loco people fuck me. Because she knew if he lost, they was going to rape her. I mean, that's just, you know, that was the writing on the wall. You know what I'm saying? We going to fuck you regardless. And since you trying to act big and bad, your boy got to fight me. And if your boy lose, we going to rape you. And so she's like, you know, I need you to beat his ass because if not, you know, they're going to fuck me. I don't want to get fucked. And, they do go out in the back and they're fighting, and you know the guy was kind of getting some good licks in on Gustavo, and Gustavo started looking at Lucia, noticing she was kind of like, oh my god, if he lose, I'm gonna get fucked. And he, you know, kind of gets his strength, he gets serious about it, and then he beats old boy ass, and he's like beating him up, he's winning, and he was about to like, I won't say crush his skull, but Lucia was like, Gustavo, and she stopped him from going too far, and he won the fight. So it's like, yep, you got a deal. We're gonna get drugs from you, and we like, fine. That was a part of the end of their story. I'm gonna go something else and not tell you about the rest of it. On to Franklin. Franklin, you know, as I say, he is my favorite. Well, the story is my favorite story, mainly because, you know, it's Gustavo, Lucia, Pedro, Teddy, and Alejandro's story are so chopped up. And it's really slow. You like, okay, they always having conversations, they always talking, they always, you know, it's just not fast enough for me. I feel like with Franklin, it's always bam, 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 bam. You know, it's more of a continuing story than the other characters or the other stories that are all intertwined. So we see that Franklin is now walking into Claudia's club. It's Franklin, Leon, and the new partner, his other friend, Kevin. And as they're walking in, Kevin and Leon is like, who's that bitch talking about Claudia? Man, she fine as fuck. I'll fuck that. I mean, you know, typical young dudes seeing a cute girl and talking about how they gonna sleep with her. You know, that's why I'm single now, because people are stupid. So you see Leon and Kevin, one arguing over who should fuck her first and all that stuff. So when she sees them walking in, she's like, oh my god, here we go. So they like, you know, hey, you know, Franklin like, hey, Claudia. And she's looking at Leon and Kevin like, what the fuck is y'all? Who are y'all? And she's like, why you bring these two young people up in here? And they like, what? This is, FKL or FLK. And then they're arguing about who initials gonna be first. Is it gonna be Leon's initials first, or is it gonna be Kevin's initials first? Leon like, bitch, your initials can't be first. You just got here. And it was childish. Very childish. And she's like, take that bullshit somewhere else, basically. And then Leon like, we here to do business. And she like, the only business you can do for me is get a rag and wipe them tables down. Because she ain't for the bullshit. So, she like, look, get their asses out of here. And he like, look, y'all gonna head outside. I'm gonna handle this. Y'all gonna get paid regardless. And as they leaving out, Leon like, you old busted bitch. Why she gotta be a busted bitch now? She was a fine bitch a couple minutes ago. You wanted to fuck her then? See, that's what I don't like about people. You can't be like, oh, you an old busted bitch now, but a few seconds ago, you wanted to hit that old busted bitch. So, whatever. So, they go outside, and Franklin and Claudia are doing their business. And he pulls out all 4 kilos that he got from Javi, and she's like, nope, I'm only getting 2. And he's like, well, what? I have 4. And she was like, Franklin, I told you, I'm not a drug dealer. I'm only into entertainment. And he's like, oh, okay. Well, that's fine. Do you know anyone who can buy it? And she's like, no, I don't know anyone who can buy it. And she's like, if you keep selling that stuff around here, in this area, you're going to catch some fire. And he's like, oh, is that a lesson? And she's like, no, that's a prophecy. When someone tell you, if you keep selling drugs in this area, or if you keep doing something in this part of town, you could catch some heat. Listen to them. Start paying attention to your surroundings, because she meant what she said. And but she's like, but for right now, I'm busy. If you ever want some more, advice, prophecy, or whatever, come back and holler at me. But right now, you gotta go. I'm busy. So of course he leave. We then see the 2 guys who robbed Franklin in episode 1 or 2 are sitting in the car, just sitting in the car and they're talking. And at first, I didn't even recognize the one guy, because the last time I saw him, Carvel had him bent over, fucking him in the ass, so I just didn't recognize him face forward. And I'm like, wait, the one guy's the one who came to the house, who robbed him and came to the house and he got away, But I'm like, oh, that's the guy that got ass raped. Okay, cool. So they're sitting there and they're having a conversation. As they're sitting there, they see Franklin, Leon, and Kevin walking up. And the guy who got ass raped, I don't know his name. I'm sorry that I keep referring to him as the guy that got ass raped, but that's how we know who he is. He's like, yeah, we got a 3-for-1 now. And the other guy's like, look, man, is we sure we want to do this? We robbed them. They got us back. Maybe we should just let it ride. And he was like, fuck that. We ain't letting that ride. Now, what he did say was, they broke out my house, tied me up, and hit me with a baseball bat. What he didn't say is he got ass raped. Now, my thing is, he told people what happened, but he didn't say everything that happened. So I'm like, people don't know he got ass raped. Because I'm like, his face looks fine. You know what I'm saying? He got beat up. He got ass raped. He got hit with a baseball bat. I'm surprised he able to drive, because when they hit his knees, I thought his damn kneecaps was broken. But I guess not. So, but he is talking like his voice is real raspy. I don't know if that was for him screaming from getting ass raped. I'm not sure. So yeah, they're sitting in the car. He has a gun cocked ready to, handle Franklin, Leon, and Kevin. And because he like, look, they broke in my house. They beat me up. They tied me up. They hit me with a baseball bat. So I ain't letting that shit ride. He like, you ready? You ready? Yeah, I'm ready. Well, let's go. So at that same moment, you hear knock, knock, knock on the window. He like roll the window down. He hold his badge up. It's a cop. And it's actually the same cop who saved Franklin's life the last episode where, what was the last episode? When he was getting choked out by the white cop. So the black cop who pulled up and got the white cop off Franklin is the person who's now knocking on these robbers' windows, like roll your window down. And he's like, what y'all doing over here? And they like, we just sitting here. And he like, well, I know y'all ain't from around here, so y'all need to go head on. And then he like, unless y'all want me to arrest y'all on my day off. And they like, all right, fine. So they pull off. And as they pull off, you know, the one who got ass raped is riding past, and he's looking dead at Franklin. And Franklin and them don't have any idea that he was even on their street, let alone about to shoot them. Hence, if you keep doing this, you're going to catch fire, and you ain't paying no damn attention. So, you know, the guys ride off, and Franklin goes into the house. And so Franklin, Leon, or Kevin are in the house, and they're playing with all the money that they got from Claudia for the first 2 keys of cocaine. And they're, you know, making it rain, throwing it up in the air, having a good old party with all the money. And, you know, as they're doing all of that, Leon like, man, you ever tried this before? And he like, what? What are you talking about? Asking him if he'd ever tried cocaine before. And Franklin was like, nah, you know, rule number 1, you know, never get high on your own supply. Yes, never, ever, 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 ever. Okay? Don't do that. So he's like, you know, we're not gonna do that. So like, I heard, you know, you know, how can we sell it if we don't know what it feel like to be on it? And he like, we don't need to know what it feel like to be on it. The people who buy it know what it feel like. That's all that matters. We ain't trying this shit. And then as they're, you know, talking about that, you hear knock, knock, knock at the front door. So they all kind of panic a little bit. So Franklin like, look, I had all this shit. I'm gonna go see who it is and send them on their way. They're like, what you mean had it? He like, look, just had it. So he go out, he goes to the front door. He look out the door, he look out the window, no one's there. He come back in the room, and Melody is climbing they're like, oh, it was Melody. She climbed in the window. He look, and she's like, what y'all here doing? Y'all got cocaine? These fools that hid the damn cocaine, they didn't even they put it was on top of a mirror, because they was going to cut it up. It was on a mirror on the floor. It was on the fucking floor. And they're, you know, it was just stupid. So they're kind of like bouncing off the walls. And she's like, what is going on? What are y'all doing? You know, what are y'all selling drugs now? I want in. You know, I can help y'all sell it. And, you know, Franklin's like, no, you can't help us sell it. Or you can't help. And then the one, Kevin's like, I told y'all, my friend stayed, and we can go see my cousin, and he can, and Franklin like, why y'all so jittery? Did y'all try the stuff? And they like, no. High as the fucking Jaybird. And he like, oh, this shit. So he start taking the money from him. He's like, get out. I got work to do, y'all gotta go. So he putting them all out because they high. And he like, I'll talk to y'all later when y'all sober. Putting them out. So, yeah. The next scene, we see Franklin is not at his Uncle Jerome's house. And they up there eating cookies and shit. You know? Him downstairs. Sorry. Bring him back. And Uncle Jerome made the cookies. He in a little apron and everything. He like, see, you know, if your auntie ever leave me, I'm good because I can cook. Because he can make some goddamn gone cookies. So, you know, they're eating the cookies at the table. And he's like, you know, I know you don't want, you know, to be in this business with me, but I just want to know why. You know, you smart, this to be lucrative. I just want to know why you want, you know, why you don't want in on this. And his uncle goes into, he's like, you know, a long time ago, you know, some people hit this truck with some cocaine, and he was mentioning something about some Mexicans. I kept rewinding it to see what he said happened. All I could gather from it was someone robbed a truck full of cocaine, and the Mexicans got back at their ass. That's all I could get from the conversation. He also said, you know, there's no winners when you're selling that white girl, that white stuff, because the cops are going to want to arrest you. So you can't win. They're going to be trying to lock you up. And he was like, third, you know, you can only sell to white folks. And, you know, when you sell to white folks, you're going to stick out because you're black. So for that reason, I don't do it. He's like, the only safe way to sell drugs is to sell it in your own neighborhood. And he like, you know, sell it here. He like, but we can't afford that here. So, you know, I'm not in that game. And, you know, Auntie then comes out and she's like, tell him about, and she said a name. And for the life of me, I could not hear the name that she said. And he's like, what? Who? And she said, you know, better for him to hear from somebody who's not family. So, okay, fine. So he like, Franklin, go wait in the car. They finna go on a ride somewhere. You know, Uncle Jerome and Auntie go in the kitchen, and she all being nasty, putting her hands down his pants like, hey, daddy, and all whatever, you know. I see something, you know, something else on the rise or whatever. So she being freaky dicky with a man, and she like, you know, once he gets something in his head, he ain't gonna let it go. Meaning Franklin want to sell drugs. He not going to want to let go of what he want to do. So, help him in whatever way you can. Because he's not going to deter from that thought of what he wants to do. So, next we see Uncle Jerome and Franklin, and they're at like a grocery store, or like a store. One of the grocery stores, like a store. And they're talking to a character who's played by Bokeem Woodbine. Bokeem Woodbine is the bald head guy. He was in Jason's Lyric. He was in Dead Presidents. He was in a whole bunch of shit. It's him. Okay. So, he's talking to them while they're eating these goddamn cookies. Because when Jerome left the house, he put some cookies in the goddamn container and he left. And I'm like, oh, he took some cookies to his friend. Okay, fine. But they're having a conversation, and he's talking about, how back in the day, in the 50s and 60s, it was one way. And then it was a whole conversation that to me doesn't mean much. Because Franklin at one point said, yeah, I know all that stuff. My father was a Black Panther. And Uncle Jerome like, look, fuck all the semantics, give him the real deal. He like, no, young blood need, backstory. Not really. So he then has a conversation about, and I'm like, this must be the Mexican deal that went bad. He's like, a while ago, some Mexicans had, me and my friend was on the ground with a gun to his head, and he was standing in front of me. And he's talking. And he's like, let's tell him how you lost your ball. And he's like, what? You lost a nut? What? And he's like, well, yeah. These Mexicans who had my friend standing in front of me shot him in the head. And the bullet went through his head and through my nut, and I lost the ball. He's like, that's what made me stop being in the cocaine business. It wasn't worth it. He's like, it shouldn't take you losing the nuts to realize what you shouldn't be involved in. And as they're having this conversation, an Asian lady walk up, speaking Asian, and she's pissed off. Come find out it's his wife, and she's like, "You up here eating cookies and shit?" She's saying this in Asian, damn it, in a different language. I don't know if it's Chinese or whatever, but she's like, "You up here, shooting shit, eating cookies and shit, and we downstairs, trying to box up 80 boxes of tissue or whatever." And he like, "It's 3 of y'all down there." He's also speaking in a different language, I'm up here having a conversation, and he offered her some cookies, and she's like, get this, and she knocks it out of his hand, and the whole time Jerome laughing, it's a show to him. So he she walked away, and she's mad, and he like, man, I thought you got a divorce, and he was like, nah, it's kind of, cheaper to keep her, and he was like, plus, these Asian soaps be selling like hotcakes, meaning, it's more money to still be with her. So as that scene is over, he's telling Franklin, you need to leave this cocaine game alone. Don't have to go through losing your balls to figure out it ain't for you. It's a very tough situation to be in. And Franklin like, all right, fine, whatever. So they leave. So the next scene, oh, my phone, sorry. The next scene that we see, Franklin then comes back to him by himself. And he like, look, man, how much would you charge me to give me the address to the Mexicans? And he like, you don't want to get into it with these Mexicans. You don't want to do it. He like, look, I don't need no lecture. Just give me the address. So as Bokeem Woodbine's character is writing down his address, he's like, look, you get 3 jewels in life. What your mama tell you, what the streets teach you, and what your future holds. But which no one knows. The last one is in your control, what you gonna do with it. And he like, look, like I told you, man, I don't need no lecture. And then he said to Franklin, you too young to realize the advice that I'm giving you. You're not grown enough to know good advice. And Franklin leaves. So the next thing we see, Franklin's at home. His mom is at home, and he's walking in with groceries. And she's like, oh, you got groceries? Okay, cool. And he like, yeah, I got a new job. And she's like, what? Really? Where? And he like, basically at a porn studio. And she like, what? Really? And he like, yeah, it's good money. And she's like, will you still be out all night? And he like, no, I'll just have some late nights. And she's like, well, okay, at least it's a job. And she's unpacking the food. And he like, Ma, can I see the car? And she like, I knew it was something. And he, you know, of course, she let him see the car. So the next scene that we see, what is the end of it? Franklin is pulling up, and you see as he slows the car down, he pulls up, and it's a Mexican standing in front of him. So I'm like, okay, he's in Mexican town. We have a Mexican town here in Detroit, and it's the Mexican standing in front of him, and he's kind of looking around or whatever. He's trying to find this address, and you know, someone then knocks on his window. So he rolls the window down. He's like, hey, you know, what are you doing here? You know, are you lost? And he's like, well, I think I am. He's like, no, who you looking for? He's like, no, I think I'm lost. I'm just going to go ahead on about my business. So he like, all right, fine. So as Franklin starts the car back up to pull off, the window crashes in. You hear, boom, the guy busts the window out. Open the door, pull Franklin out. It's like 3 of them kind of beating him up, and they put him up against the car. And they like, what you doing over here? You in the wrong neighborhood, Vato, you know, and all that stuff. And they check his pockets, seeing if he got a gun. He didn't have a gun, but they did find the cocaine. So they like, no, he sees his godchildren out on the streets. He like, take him upstairs. We're going to handle this, you know, off the streets or whatnot. So they're dragging him away. He like, look, I just want to sell y'all my stuff. You know, I got some stuff for y'all to try. I'm just trying to give y'all my product. That's it. I ain't trying to kill y'all, fight y'all, nothing. I can go ahead on about my way. And they kind of beating him up, dragging him to the house. And as he's being dragged to the house, Gustavo and Lucia is coming down the stairs. So Gustavo's looking, because remember in episode 1, Gustavo gave him an autograph. So Gustavo's looking like he looked familiar. And he hear Franklin saying, I didn't do nothing. I ain't trying to do that. I'm just trying to sell y'all some products. So Gustavo's like, hey, what do you do? And the guy like, you know, you ain't gonna do this. You know, I don't work for you. Shut up. He's like, I work with, I think, Stumpy, or whoever the lead Mexican person is. So, you know, what does he do? They like, nothing. He just in the wrong neighborhood. He probably over here to kill, to take us out. He like, well, did he have a gun? And they like, no. And he like, let him go. He coming with me. I know this Vato. And they're like, man, shut up. So as they arguing, the main guy come, and he like, hey. And he signaled for them to let Franklin go. So Franklin gets let go, and Gustavo's like, kid, go home. Go home. He like, what are you doing over here? Asking Gustavo that because he recognizes him as this wrestler. And Gustavo's like, don't worry about it. Just go home, get in your car, leave. He's like, hey, I'm Franklin. If you ever need something, you know, remember me. I'm Franklin. So Gustavo and Lucia get in the car and go their way. Franklin get in his car and he go his way. And he pull off. So Gustavo saved his life. I'm like, go ahead. The story's finally connected together. So for that, I liked it. And that was the whole episode. That's how the episode ended. So for me, it was a really good episode. I hope you liked my review. Until next time, I am Jay Lee. This is Jay Lee's Corner. Remember to subscribe, share, like, comment. Until next time, people.